Foreign Minister Javad Zarif, welcome to Hardtalk. The British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt says that there is a small but closing window to save the nuclear deal agreed in 2015 between Iran and the world powers. Is he right?
I think he is right, but it requires committed determination on all sides to save this deal. Iran has implemented its part of the deal, and it is necessary for the rest of the world, particularly for the three Europeans, to also take action. They made very nice statements, but statements do not provide economic benefits for Iranians.
Let me just tell you what leaked documents have told us about at least the UK position about the US withdrawing from the deal last year. Sir Kim Darroch, who has just stepped down as British ambassador to Washington, said that Trump's got an incoherent and chaotic policy on Iran, and that the US is set upon an act of diplomatic vandalism, seemingly for ideological and personality reasons, because it was President Obama's deal. To what extent have these leaks affected the dynamics in all of this? Has it made Iran feel encouraged to try to exploit differences between the US and Europe?
Well, we believe that this deal is in the interest of the international community, including the United States. It doesn't matter whether the previous administration in the United States negotiated this deal. This is a deal that was negotiated by the United States because, as you know, in the international community, you don't recognize this or the other government. You recognize a country and the government of that country. And we did negotiate this with the government of the United States, and the government of the United States should abide by the commitments. There wasn't a revolution in the US last I checked. So I believe that it is for President Trump the best deal possible. I believe President Trump is being advised by people who are not interested in promoting peace, but interested in advancing an agenda that they've had.
Just sticking with the European point, do you feel emboldened now to try to exploit the differences between Europe and the US? I mean, the Europeans have said consistently it was a matter of huge regret that the United States withdrew unilaterally from the nuclear deal.
I believe it's important to make that statement, but at the same time, it's important to basically invest in what Europeans believe is a security document for them and is a security agreement for them. You cannot make any gains without basically making the necessary investment, and I think that is what's lacking. We have invested in the nuclear deal, more than talking. We have done things on the ground. The Europeans are not prepared to do things on the ground. They're willing to make
like
statements, like purchasing our oil.
Foreign Minister, with the US sanctions on Iran, the Europeans cannot buy
Why not?
American oil.
Why not?
Because
Tell
it's
me.
going to affect their companies.
If the Europeans, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Russians, try all of them to not allow the United States to bully them into abiding by its decisions, would the United States be able to destroy global economy and put sanctions on all of them? Let's take it, Shell, Total, any Sinopec, all of them at the same time disregard this demand by the United States, which is illegal, unlawful.
It's not going to happen. I mean, Natalie Tocci, who's advisor to Federica Mogherini, the European Union foreign policy chief, says the deal could be saved if there was US compliance, but this is not a likely proposition. So the Europeans' position is to try to strengthen what they call INSTEX, which is this framework through which the sanctions could to some extent be circumvented, especially allowing Iran to receive humanitarian aid, medicines and so on, which are exempt under the US sanctions. Do you have any faith that this would work? Do you have any faith in it?
You want to accept US predominance in global economy, even to your own detriment?
Well, I'm just telling you what the Europeans say.
Unfortunately, this is what they're saying, and I do not think this way they can resolve this crisis or any crisis. The Europeans and the rest of the global community are strong enough to withstand this. There is no need to try to circumvent it. But if they want to circumvent it through INSTEX, we have to see whether there is any actual benefit for the Iranian people. You see, the people are dying from cancer. People are dying, kids are dying from EB. people are dying from MS just because there are a very limited area of pharmaceuticals that we cannot produce in Iran, and the United States